it is becoming more popular and more well known how we can manifest things. And a lot of this happens through the emotional realm as well. We have to emotionally prepare ourselves for the things we manifest in order to manifest them. At least this is how I experience it. Only if I can feel emotionally ready, I can receive things and let it enter my life. Otherwise, I won't be doing the right actions in order to obtain the things that I want. But what I also noticed is that sometimes I use these manifestation methods in a way that I forgot about my current state, and it's a little bit like overusing manifestation and not being in full contact with your current reality, or your the state of your being at that moment, because there's maybe some resistance to that. This might sound a little bit complicated, but I hope to dissect it in this video so that it will become more clear to you what I mean with this. As I said earlier, in order to manifest certain things, you need to be in a certain mood. You need to feel as if you deserve it. You need to feel as if you are able to do it. And this is a great method to step out of your old patterns and start a new life. It's actually great. It helped me a lot to get out of depression. It helped me a lot to build a life I want. But also, I had these moments where I just surpassed myself, where I used it as a sort of bypassing in order to not be okay or not accept my current state and my current self, my current being, all the things I was capable of, all the things that I had done. So, first of all, when you manifest, it's very important that you also feel grateful and feel accepting towards your current state and all the things that you already have accomplished, and also your feelings that are within you. I'm always talking about feelings because, yeah, it can sometimes feel as if you need to just suck it all up and move on. And sometimes this is great. Sometimes this is the best method, to just suck it all up. Especially when you're very deep down and you're spiraling slowly into the cliff, then it's actually great that you just get a grip on yourself and be like, okay, no, stop it here. We're gonna replace a lot of these negative emotions with positive ones. On the other hand, it is also not always appropriate to do that. In some situations, it is really needed to give yourself space to feel these negative emotions and let yourself drop a little bit and let it in, also the negative things. Because sometimes I feel like when I'm in bed and I'm trying to manifest certain things, because I do that when I lay in bed, then I think about these things, that there is some resistance within me, and this idea of manifesting something is actually triggering some sort of old wound again. And it's usually an old wound that made us believe that we aren't worthy of the thing that we're about to manifest, because that's why we haven't already, because somehow we felt like we didn't deserve it yet. So, in order to not repress them, it's very important to ask yourself in this moment whether you are actually ready to let it in, whether you are also ready to face that old emotion that kept you from doing those things. Because when you go in there, it can be very a painful experience. It can be very confronting again. So it's very important for your health and for your sanity that you feel ready to accept that part of yourself and to accept that emotion as well, to stream again. I sometimes view it as we're like this body and we have this memory system within us of which our emotions are part of, and it works together with the outside environment. It's one thing actually, but we're most conscious of this body that we somewhat own. But the outer realm is in constant communication with us, and this communication is this back and forth of information. And because language isn't the only communication we use, I think emotion is also a way of communicating, and our movement is also a way of communicating. Our emotions influence our movements. So when we have some sort of emotion within us, it makes us move into certain patterns. The emotions that we have, as I said, they communicate with the outer realm so that we can gravitate towards something, usually something that is in some sort of same realm of this emotion. It doesn't have to be the same emotion, it can be something that is contrasting this emotion, but it's usually something that confirms this emotion for us. At least this is how I experience it. It's usually that my outer world is somewhat confirming my inner world, my inner emotions. This is for people who are more emotionally, of course. And this is how I feel it when it streams. When we let it stream, it's as if we have this more clear communication with the outer world. And you can also see it by the way you talk, the way you move is smoother, and also things are entering your life much easier because it streams easily, because you are more open. So this stream is flowing and you are flowing, you are moving more easily because this emotion is not repressed. It has its space. So how can we do this? How can we manifest whilst we without repressing the emotion so that it's not in some sort of forceful way? Because that's what it is when we try to force ourselves into things that we're not ready for, and the outer world also doesn't seem ready for it because we haven't had these openings within ourselves yet, and these openings in communication with the outer world, we haven't experienced that yet. So for both sides, if you can talk of sides, doesn't really work well with each other. When you think of these things that you wish to do, that you would like to be, I would first invite you to imagine it in all its glory if you can. But if you feel like you can't because there's still this thing nagging you, then I invite you to look with this version of yourself that you wish to be at this part of yourself, and invite this part of yourself to open up. So maybe you can ask some questions like, why do you feel like you can't be this, or are you even ready to be that, and what are you actually feeling? Why are you blocking this? What are you afraid of? What are you still carrying that is so important that this is still not possible? And if you do that, if you ask yourself these questions, you can see that this part of yourself starts opening up, because you treat it as a friend. You don't treat it as your enemy. It's not that this thing is in the way of this, it's actually the gate to this, because they're also one, they're interconnected. Because probably the pain that is in here makes this wish to become that. Really invite you to try that out, and also tell yourself that it's okay if you're not ready. Because if you pressure yourself to be ready, then this part will never, it will never open up. We see that with other people. If you are too early with things, if you force people into doing things, it's usually very temporary. They will do it, you might do it, but it's usually short and not a very great experience. And we don't want this for ourselves. We don't want this for others, and also not for ourselves, of course. So I hope that you can try that out. Yeah, just see if it works for you. For me, it was like one of the holy grails I found within myself. You can also use it to change your mood the same way. Sometimes it's not fair to say, like, when you're sad here and you want to be joyful because of something that is happening, and you want to be joyful for that. mm, it's it sometimes feels fake, and it's very frictional. In these cases, you can ask yourself, how can I change this sadness into something joyful? So instead of denying the sadness and saying, I want to be joyful, you include your sadness and you say, like, yeah, how can I use this sadness to become joyful? What is joyful about this sadness? Because sometimes we're sad about something very important to us, and then it's like, hey, wow, this thing is really dear to me. I'm so grateful that there is something that is so dear to me that I can feel sad about that. And I think this is the same when you try to manifest things, that this blockage also was something that's very important to you, that was probably something quite deep within you. And you can actually thank yourself that because of this thing that you want to manifest, and you feel that you can manifest this, which you can already be very grateful for. Somewhere you trust within yourself that you can do it. That it's actually also some sort of key to lay this part of you bare, open. That you can find out something within you that you didn't see, and therefore it's always or often also a quite painful experience, because it's sometimes things about ourselves that we don't want to acknowledge, things that we don't want to see, um, that are actually the key to get there and to accept this within us. Is it's a part of accepting yourself even more, becoming yourself even more, which I think is a very beautiful process. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye.